Austin, you're terminated. Clean out your desk. Madison Cross said it with a smile like she was ordering coffee, her manicured fingers drumming against her laptop screen during our video call. Effective immediately. That's when I knew this 26-year-old trust fund princess had just made the biggest mistake of her short corporate life. My name is Austin Patterson. I'm 52 years old, and at that moment, I was about to lose everything. My son Tommy needed $200,000 worth of cancer surgery in 8 weeks. My wife Sarah was managing her own recovery while helping Tommy through chemo. My daughter Lisa was counting on me for graduate school tuition. And Madison Cross, VP of Innovation and niece of our CEO, was about to steal the technology that could save my family's future. But Madison had never served in the military. She'd never learned that the most dangerous enemy is the one who's had time to prepare for battle. It started that Monday morning when she called the all-hands meeting. Madison was broadcasting from the Denver corporate office of Titan Aerospace Systems here in Phoenix. Perfect hair, perfect suit, permanent smirk, like someone who thought an MBA from Harvard counted as combat experience. "We're implementing operational alignment for next-generation teams," she announced, clicking to a slide designed by a marketing intern. "Full-time on-site collaboration starts next week, no exceptions." People stared at their screens. My jaw tightened. For 18 months straight, my Project Sentinel had exceeded every Department of Defense benchmark they'd thrown at us. I did most of that work from my home office, same place where I'd been stationed since Tommy started treatments. Results mattered less than Madison's need to justify her corner office. Then came the real punch. All research and development prototypes, plus any classified development work, must be logged in our centralized security repository. Full source files, technical documentation, access credentials. My office will review all intellectual property for patent consolidation and contract optimization. My Army training kicked in. 20 years of corporate life since my discharge, but some instincts never fade. I recognized enemy action when I saw one. This wasn't about security compliance. This was theft with a paper trail. "Madison," I said, unmuting my microphone with the calm I'd learned defusing IEDs in Iraq. "Does this policy apply to projects developed outside standard contract parameters?" She smiled wider. "Austin, anything relevant to Titan Aerospace's strategic roadmap falls under company purview, even work done with no company equipment, time, or personnel. Honestly, your threat detection stuff is probably too complex for our current initiatives anyway." She leaned back like she was explaining math to a child. "Once it's integrated into our systems, it becomes company property. That's how defense contracting works." The conference call went silent. Even Danny Weber, my 24-year-old mentee who still asks me how to configure SSL certificates, stopped typing. Madison had just admitted on a recorded company call that she planned to steal independent work and claim it as corporate property. I smiled back at that camera. "Thanks for clarifying the exit strategy, Madison." I closed my laptop, unplugged my secure terminal, and stood up. 20 years of corporate politics had taught me when to fight and when to execute tactical retrograde. This was retrograde time. I walked out of that building like I was heading to the hardware store. No drama, no shouting, just a cardboard box and the expression I'd perfected during military service. Colleagues whispered as I passed. Danny caught up to me at the elevator, his face pale. "Austin, what's happening? Where are you going?" "Stay. Observe. Document everything." The elevator doors closed before he could respond. Outside, Phoenix's October heat hit me like a wall, but I felt cooler than I had in months. I loaded my personal items into my F-150's toolbox, right next to a pre-sealed envelope I'd prepared weeks ago. The address label read, "Colonel James Rodriguez, Department of Defense Inspector General's Office." Inside that envelope wasn't a resignation letter. It was documentation proving that the next-generation AI threat detection protocol Madison's team was preparing for the Air Force contract belonged to me. Not morally, not theoretically, but legally and federally mine. See, I'd been building it for the past 12 months, entirely outside my Titan Aerospace contract scope. Nights, weekends, my own hardware, my own funding, every line of code time-stamped and witnessed. Every development milestone documented with the precision they'd taught me in the Army. Madison thought she could intimidate me into surrender, that I'd slink away like a good employee with bruised feelings and half-finished LinkedIn updates. But Madison had never learned that preparation beats improvisation every time. I drove straight to the downtown post office and hand-delivered that envelope to Federal Mail. White, standard issue, sealed with attention to detail that had kept me alive in hostile territory and would now keep Madison awake at night. Then I called Kevin Nash, my old college buddy who'd transitioned from JAG officer to intellectual property attorney. "Kevin, it's Austin. Time to activate the contingency plan. Roger that. How bad did they step in it?" Madison just claimed ownership of classified protocols on a recorded company call. Long pause. She really doesn't know who she's messing with, does she? Not yet. But she's about to get a federal education. The war had begun, and Madison didn't even know she was already losing. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in Kevin's office while he reviewed documentation that would make Pentagon lawyers proud. Development logs, witness statements, federal filing confirmations, all proving my AI protocols existed months before Madison ever knew they were possible. "Austin," Kevin said, setting down the last folder. "This isn't just airtight. This is submarine-grade sealed. Good. Because Madison's about to discover that stealing from an Army veteran with security clearance isn't a career move. It's a career-ending move." The next morning, I didn't show up for work. Instead, I was sitting in a downtown diner at 6 a.m. sketching algorithm flowcharts on napkins, while a waitress named Betty kept my coffee cup full without asking. This wasn't the first time I'd done this. The original concept for my AI threat detection protocol was born in the same booth 12 months ago, right next to a half-eaten stack of pancakes, and the realization that Titan Aerospace was heading for a management disaster. I'd seen Madison coming long before she officially arrived. Her uncle had been dropping hints about bringing fresh perspectives to legacy operations for months. Translation: some Harvard MBA kid was going to parachute in and start fixing things that weren't broken. So I'd started preparing. Every weekend for nearly a year, I'd been building something Madison couldn't steal because Madison would never know it existed. My personal laptop, my personal network, my personal time, zero connection to Titan Aerospace systems. I called it Ghost Protocol because it moved data so quietly even system administrators would miss it. The beautiful part? Madison's new intellectual property policy, designed to give executives more control, had actually created a legal loophole big enough to drive a tank through. In her rush to consolidate power, she'd specifically exempted employee-developed technology created without company resources during non-contracted hours. She probably thought that clause was meaningless. After all, who develops military-grade AI systems in their spare time? An Army veteran with 20 years of experience and a family that needs insurance coverage. That's who. My phone buzzed with a text from Danny. "Madison's asking where you are." "What should I tell her?" I typed back. "Tell her I'm consulting federal documentation." 20 minutes later, Kevin Nash walked into the diner looking like a man who'd just reviewed evidence in a war crimes trial. He slid into the booth across from me and set a thick folder on the table. "Austin, I've been practicing IP law for 15 years. I've never seen documentation this thorough. Army taught me to prepare for worst-case scenarios. Your worst-case scenario is about to become Madison's nightmare." Kevin opened the folder. 3 provisional patents filed under the Defense Production Act. AI Threat Engine, Adaptive Response Protocol, and your Ghost Protocol system. All registered to Austin J. Patterson, private citizen. Timelines clean. Your first Git commit predates Madison's arrival at Titan Aerospace by 4 months. Your federal filing predates their Sentinel project announcement by 6 weeks. Sentinel. That's what they were calling the system they'd stolen from me. Madison had announced it during last week's quarterly review, describing it as revolutionary cybersecurity architecture that will redefine military communications. Revolutionary, right? Like calling a stolen car innovative transportation. Kevin, what happens when they try to demonstrate Sentinel publicly without my core protocols? System failure. Catastrophic, embarrassing, career-ending system failure. And if they try to rebuild without your code? Impossible. Your AI algorithms are integrated into every security layer. Remove them and the entire framework collapses. Perfect. My phone rang. Sarah's name on the screen. "Hey, sweetheart. How's Tommy's treatment going?" "Good day today. Doctor says his numbers are improving." Her voice sounded stronger than it had in weeks. "Austin, Danny called the house looking for you. Said something about Madison being upset. Nothing to worry about, just some corporate politics. You didn't do anything crazy, did you?" I looked across the table at Kevin, who was organizing legal documents that would destroy Madison's career. Define crazy. Austin Patterson, what did you do? I protected our family's future, and I did it legally. Long pause. Should I be worried about Madison? No. About paying for Tommy's surgery? Also no. After I hung up, Kevin leaned forward. Austin, there's something else. I've been tracking Titan Aerospace's contract obligations. They've got a demonstration scheduled for the Defense Technology Summit in 3 weeks. Let me guess. Sentinel's the star of the show, main attraction. DoD procurement officers, defense journalists, the works. Madison's betting her entire career on a successful public launch. How public? Live stream to the entire defense industry. If Sentinel fails during that demonstration, Madison's finished. Worse than finished. She'll be radioactive. No defense contractor will touch her after a failure that public. I sipped my coffee and thought about the ghost protocol sitting on my personal server. Every line of code legally protected and completely inaccessible to Titan Aerospace. Kevin, how long do we have before they realize they can't make Sentinel work? Based on their development timeline, they'll hit the critical failure point in about 10 days, right when they're supposed to be finalizing the demonstration. And there's no way they can reverse engineer my work? Not without triggering federal compliance alerts. Your protocols are protected under classified technology statutes. Any attempt to access or reproduce them without authorization becomes a federal crime. So Madison had 2 choices: admit she stole classified technology or watch her career implode on live television. Those were her options. I stood up, left a $10 tip for Betty, and shook Kevin's hand. Keep monitoring their progress. I want to know the exact moment they realize they're screwed. Where are you going? Home. To spend time with my family and make sure Tommy's surgery is scheduled. Austin, aren't you curious about how this plays out? I smiled. Kevin, I spent 8 years in the Army. I know the difference between being in a bunker and watching one explode from a safe distance. And which one are you doing now? I'm on high ground with good intel. Madison's the one in the kill zone. As I walked to my truck, my phone buzzed with another message from Danny. Madison called an emergency engineering meeting. Says we need to accelerate Sentinel timeline. Everyone's freaking out. I typed back, document everything. And Danny, update your resume. The next 10 days were going to be very interesting. Day 7 before the Defense Technology Summit, Danny started sending me updates that read like a disaster movie script. Madison's pulling 16-hour days, brought in 3 outside contractors. Everyone's walking on eggshells. Day 5, encryption modules keep throwing error codes. Madison keeps saying, just make it work, but nobody knows how. Day 3, they're talking about canceling the demo. Madison locked herself in the conference room for 2 hours today. Day 1, Austin, this is bad, really bad. I was sitting on my back porch that Thursday evening, watching Sarah tend her garden, while Tommy called from his hospital room to complain about the food. Normal family stuff, the kind of evening Madison's corporate chaos couldn't touch. My phone rang. Kevin. Austin, they just filed an emergency patent application. For what? Sentinel. They're claiming it as original Titan Aerospace intellectual property. I almost laughed. How's that going to work out for them? About as well as you'd expect. Federal Patent Office flagged it immediately. Conflict with existing protected technology. Your technology. So what happens now? Their application gets rejected. But here's the interesting part. Filing a false patent claim on classified technology? That's not just civil court anymore, Austin. That's federal prosecution territory. Friday morning, the day before the summit, I got a call from Colonel James Rodriguez. We'd served together briefly in Iraq back when he was just another Army lieutenant with opinions about proper explosive disposal. Austin, I've been reviewing your documentation. This is some impressive work. Thank you, sir. Also some impressive preparation. You've been planning this for a while, since the day I realized Madison was going to steal everything I'd built. Son, I've got to ask, did you leave any breadcrumbs? Any way for Titan Aerospace to make this work without your protocols? Sir, with respect, that would defeat the purpose. So when they try to demonstrate this system tomorrow, it'll fail completely in front of DoD procurement officers, defense journalists, their competitors, and anyone else Madison invited to watch her moment of glory. Long pause. Austin, I've seen a lot of careers end in my time, but I've never seen someone dig their own grave this thoroughly. Madison did the digging, sir. I just handed her the shovel. Saturday morning, the Phoenix Convention Center. I wasn't supposed to be there, but I'd bought a general admission pass under the name A. Patterson. Sometimes you need to watch your handiwork up close. Titan Aerospace had booth 207 center stage, directly across from two competitors, showcasing next-generation military encryption. The same Field Sentinel was supposedly going to revolutionize. Madison arrived in a tailored suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. She was flanked by Danny, two senior engineers, and a marketing specialist who looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. They wheeled in branded displays, demonstration hardware, and a live demo setup loaded with what they thought was the Sentinel system. I positioned myself 3 rows back, wearing a baseball cap and the kind of anonymity that comes with being 52 and invisible to people like Madison. At 2 p.m., Madison took the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, today Titan Aerospace Technologies will demonstrate the future of military cybersecurity. Confident, polished, completely unaware that her career was about to crater in front of 300 industry professionals. Sentinel represents a quantum leap in AI-powered threat detection, real-time assessment, adaptive security protocols, and autonomous defense capabilities that will revolutionize how we protect our nation's communications. The audience clapped politely. A few people took notes. Madison gestured toward the large screen behind her. Now we'll show you Sentinel in action, live, real-time, against simulated enemy attacks. The demonstration began. For about 30 seconds, it looked impressive. The interface loaded, system diagnostics ran, numbers cascaded across the screen like something from a Hollywood movie. Then my ghost protocol didn't kick in. That was the problem. The system tried to access core AI functions that weren't there anymore. Functions I'd removed when I left Titan Aerospace. Functions that were now protected under federal law and completely inaccessible to Madison's team. The screen froze. Error messages started popping up. Authentication failure. Core protocols not found. System integrity compromised. Danny, visible in the wings, lunged toward the demonstration laptop. His fingers flew across the keyboard, but there was nothing to fix. The AI engine wasn't malfunctioning. It simply didn't exist. Madison tried to stay composed. "We're experiencing some technical difficulties," she announced, her voice slightly higher than normal. The audience shifted in their seats. A few people checked their phones. Someone in the press section started typing rapidly. Then the backup systems failed because there were no backup systems, just empty code shells where my protocols used to live. "Authentication error," announced the system's computerized voice, loud enough for the entire auditorium to hear. "Unable to locate security parameters." Madison's face went pale. She looked toward Danny, who was shaking his head frantically, looked toward the senior engineers who were staring at their laptops like the screens might spontaneously generate missing code. "I'm sorry," Madison said finally. "We'll need to postpone this demonstration." Scattered, uncomfortable applause, the kind you hear at Little League games when a kid strikes out badly. But the real show was just beginning. As Madison walked off the stage, a man in dress blues approached the Titan Aerospace booth. Colonel Rodriguez, carrying a manila envelope that contained everything Madison didn't know she didn't know. "Ms. Cross, Colonel James Rodriguez, DOD Inspector General's office. We need to talk." Madison's expression shifted from embarrassment to confusion to the beginning of genuine fear. "Is there somewhere private we can discuss your company's intellectual property claims?" That's when Madison realized this wasn't just a failed demonstration. This was the beginning of the end. The conference room at the Phoenix Convention Center was small, windowless, and about to become the location where Madison Cross's career died a very public death. I couldn't hear the conversation, but I didn't need to. I could see everything through the glass partition. Colonel Rodriguez spreading documents across the table. Madison's face shifting from confusion to denial to the pale realization that she'd stepped into something far bigger than a failed product demo. 20 minutes later, Madison emerged looking like a woman who'd just received a terminal diagnosis from her doctor. Colonel Rodriguez followed, carrying himself with the bearing of someone who'd just completed an unpleasant but necessary duty. Danny intercepted Madison near the booth. I was close enough to catch fragments of their conversation. "Ma'am, what did he want? Get everyone packed up. Now. What about the demonstration equipment? Leave it. We're done here." Within an hour, The Titan Aerospace booth was empty. Madison and her team disappeared like smoke, leaving behind branded banners and a demonstration rig that would never run Sentinel again. My phone buzzed. Text from Kevin. Federal warrant executed at Titan Aerospace headquarters 30 minutes ago. FBI seized all servers related to Sentinel project. I smiled and headed for the parking garage. 3 days later, the news broke. Phoenix Business Journal ran the headline, "Defense Contractor Under Federal Investigation for IP Theft." The article was brief but devastating. Anonymous sources confirmed that Titan Aerospace Technologies was being investigated for unauthorized use of classified encryption technology. The company's security clearances were under review. Several major contracts had been suspended pending investigation. Madison's name appeared in paragraph 3, VP of Innovation. Madison Cross could not be reached for comment. Could not be reached. In corporate speak, that meant she'd been disappeared. No forwarding address, no transition period, just gone. Danny called me that afternoon. "Austin, can we meet? I need advice." We met at the same diner where Kevin and I had planned Madison's downfall. Danny looked like he'd aged 5 years in 3 days. "Madison's gone," he said without preamble. "Security cleared out her office yesterday. HR says she's pursuing other opportunities." "What about the rest of the team?" "Scattered. Half the engineering department got laid off. The other half got reassigned to maintenance projects." Danny stirred his coffee absently. "Austin, can I ask you something?" "Shoot. Did you know this was going to happen?" I looked at him across the table. Good kid, smart, hard-working, deserved better than to get caught in Madison's blast radius. "Danny, what do you think? I think Madison messed with the wrong guy." "And what are you going to do with that information?" "Keep my mouth shut and update my resume." Smart kid. Over the next few weeks, things moved fast. Sarah called the insurance company about Tommy's surgery. Approved. Full coverage. The operation was scheduled for December 15th. Tommy was going to be fine. Lisa got her acceptance letter to graduate school. The financial aid package covered most expenses, but we could handle the rest now. Sarah's latest screening came back clean. The cancer was gone. My phone started ringing. Other defense contractors, companies that had heard about the Titan Aerospace situation. Word travels fast in the defense industry, especially when someone with my background becomes available. The best offer came from North Star Defense Systems in Colorado Springs. They didn't just want my AI protocols. They wanted my methodology, my experience, my 20-year track record of building systems that kept Americans safe. They offered me my own security team, a clearance level that made Sarah whistle when I told her, and a compensation package that made everything else look like pocket change. "Chief Security Officer," I told Sarah over dinner. "Base salary plus equity. Tommy's surgery covered. Lisa's graduate school covered. Your parents' assisted living covered. What about Madison? Ever hear what happened to her?" I pulled up the LinkedIn notification I'd received that morning. She's selling insurance in Scottsdale. Profile says former technology executive seeking new challenges in customer relations. From VP of Innovation to insurance saleswoman. That's quite a fall. She chose her own landing. My first week at North Star, I implemented new intellectual property protection protocols. Every engineer got training on federal compliance requirements. Every project got triple documentation. Every line of code got time-stamped and archived. "Why so thorough?" asked Dr. Rebecca Martinez, North Star's Chief Technology Officer. "Because I've seen what happens when people try to steal what doesn't belong to them. The Titan Aerospace situation, among others." She nodded. "We heard about that. Word is, someone really did their homework. Preparation beats improvisation every time. Military training, life training. 3 months into my new job, Danny contacted me. He'd landed a position with a small cybersecurity firm in Denver. Good company, good prospects, far away from the smoking crater that used to be Titan Aerospace. "Austin, I wanted to thank you for what? For showing me what it looks like when someone fights back the right way. You could have made it personal, could have destroyed Madison publicly, humiliated her, ruined her life for spite. Instead, you just let the system work." "Danny, I didn't destroy Madison. Madison destroyed Madison. I just documented the process." "Still, that took discipline." "Maybe it did. Or maybe I was just too old for revenge fantasies. At 52, with a wife in remission, a son beating cancer, and a daughter finishing graduate school, I didn't have time for drama. I had time for results, and the results spoke for themselves. Madison was gone, my family was secure, and my ghost protocol was now classified at the highest levels of government security. The Pentagon wanted 3 more versions. Tommy's surgery was successful. Sarah's medical bills were handled through executive health coverage. Lisa's tuition was covered through her PhD. Every morning when I walk into North Star Defense Systems, past the American flag and the photos of real heroes, I remember that moment when Madison told me I was terminated. Best career advice I ever received. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, it's getting ahead. Thanks for listening. Remember, document everything, trust nobody, and always have an exit strategy. Unless you're my old boss, then you're on your own.